Good morning today, 13th January 2025. We are going to discuss editorials from The Hindu. One article we will take from Hindu, second article we will take from Indian Express. Basically, that article is about work life balance. These two articles we will discuss them in detail. First article we are taking from The Hindu, digital data protection rules. Recently, government opened portal for submitting open portal to citizens to submit their concerns grievances related to data protection. So during this light article has been discussed in detailed manner. In August 2024, almost it marked 6 years since case Puttaswamy judgment came out. What was that case Puttaswamy judgment? Right to privacy. Puttaswamy versus Union of India is a famous judgment. During that time, Supreme Court of India upheld right to privacy as a fundamental right. Now, Internet Freedom Foundation, they hosted their annual Privacy Supreme event, not because of the celebration of this right to privacy, but there are some unfulfilled promise in this report. Social activist Nihil De, he also shared few accounts from Rajasthan in Ajmer how Aadhaar, instead of helping citizens, it excluded vulnerable residents from pensions and rations. So these realities will point out, even it will give a clear indication that we need to discuss more things related to tech related policy discussions, including draft digital data protection rules 2025. Basically, rule making in data protection rules, this is a legislative activity. These legislative activities are passed in parliament, and they will ensure administrative flexibility, and they should ensure whatever decision that is being taken in parliament, it has to impact each and everyone equal manner. However, this draft digital data protection rules, they kind of provoke concerns related to executive overreach and vague governance. Whatever rules they have been pointed out so far, they kind of override already existing rules, or the governance related matters are very vague. Some analysis here, they told kind of repetitive rules are being told into the people in order to they follow. Obedience is the main thing they need to follow. Suppose say if I am telling you you need to wake up in the morning, you need to do the brush, same kind of activity have been written like repetitive activity. How citizens or people, those must be obedient to its master, basically to the government. Like if you see Digital Personal Protection Act, this act was passed in 2023. This is kind of during the time act was passed in swift manner. It was passed very urgently. It kind of subverts the democratic process. What do you mean by democracy? Government for the people, by the people, to the people. Whoever whoever elected executives are there in the parliament, they must approve the bill. They should understand the bill in detailed manner. They should scrutinize the bill. There must be debates. These things will definitely help, and finally the bill will come out and it will become act. However, all this process has been bypassed and it has become act. There is lack of trust in how the law was created, because there are certain provisions that are like total state control, wherein digital control will be taken care by central government. It is kind of subversing our preambular act of the Constitution of India. What do you mean by preamble? You might have read preamble. We the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic country. This is kind of preamble introduction. So I'm not telling everything. So this preamble introduction will give us all those rights. However, the rights in this data protection, Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023, the control lies in the central government. The provisions in this digital personal data protection, they are kind of deliberately vague. This grants like as may be prescribed. That means whenever it is required or whenever it is being advised, so during that time certain kind of action will be taken. So when it is advised, who will advise, these things are very vague. So those things should have been clear cut manner prescribed in those provisions of the act. Despite act was passed in swift manner on August 9, 2023, implementation also remains kind of in dust. It's like you have put it in cold storage. 16 months almost. Now draft rules that have been put up for the consultation, whether it is put up for public, they published almost 51-page PDF kind of Hindi English gazette notification with 3-page explanatory note. Like with AI they put lot of simplistic and vague summary about policy, how drafting has been done. So you need to submit comments related to this draft digital data protection rule through my government platform. So this will encourage input from very few people, because whether we will access this my government portal, it is also very observable factor. Transparency is a crystal clear path for government in order to maintain decision making process. Transparency, this is also undermined in this thing. So the submissions, they are kind of fiduciary, they preclude public disclosure, even counter comments also. If you put some kind of comments that are not acceptable by government, so those comments will not be made to public public exposure. Even controlled feedback process, this is kind of corporate consultation rather than kind of public one. Substantially digital data protection rule, they kind of build a framework, basically intentionally putting vagueness and executive dominance. Central government take control of digital data protection, basically avoiding fundamental rights. Many compliance obligations, they are also like self-determined by companies handling personal data, or even left to government discretion. For example, if you see Rule 3, that kind of states like, it kind of like where Rule 3 talks about consenting things, clear and plain language, but it fails to define the terms. It kind of leaves interpretation subject to India's vast linguistic and comprehension diversity. Suppose say you put some complications there, so everyone tries to put a loophole in there and they want to take advantage of that. Especially corporate companies, they will take up these digital data protection rules and then they will utilize the citizens' data. They can sell anywhere in India. They can do business, all related activity. So this must be very crystal clear manner. Without specific standards, there are risks that are being like generic or kind of oversimplified. These things will omit critical details. Similarly, if you see, rules require for itemized description of data, but they do not clarify whether disclosure is for categories such as like financial, health data, or kind of specific data that points out about account number, or even metadata or inferred data also. Nor even they define timelines for data breach notifications to users, raising risk for individuals in urgent situation. With all such ambiguities, purely administrative, this should have been resolved by the standard setting powers of the independent regulatory authority that doesn't even exist. When you put independent regulatory authority, this body will take care of. If you suppose say we have the share market, we have Security Exchange Board of India, SEBI, they will take care of everything. Like that, you need to put some independent body, those bodies will take care of. See, the vagueness reflects deeper structural flaws. Even the act kind of stay away from creation of independent regulatory body, instead of like the whole power lies in central government. Through informal interaction and gadget notifications, government, they are getting huge power and authority over citizens and even digital marketplace. Even data protection board, this is kind of, they lack jurisdiction in order to adjudicate breaches, lack of independence, all those things. If you see data protection board, The chairperson, they are recommended by search and selection committee that is chaired by cabinet secretary. This kind of raises critical concern. What is the concern? People may come from political background, so political influence might be there. Even after formation of this digital data protection board, its authority is kind of limited to determining data breaches, but its independence, like, compromised by service condition of member with the central government employees. So this kind of exacerbates, even violates long-standing recommendations. In 2006, Planning Commission told, on consultation paper regarding the regulations, they emphasized selection, appointment, removal of chairperson and member. This should be done without political interference, without, you shouldn't, political person shouldn't be involved in this. So how this body, data protection board, this will be subservient, they protect data very effectively. So finally, regarding rule 22, this is like power of government to requisition information. There is a kind of absence of limitation safeguard also. As many may read this article about, they wonder whether data protection is really happening or not, whether it is too little, too vague. So we need to understand these nuances. Central government must act in very immediate manner. So this is the article about. We'll discuss next article about work-life balance. This article we have taken from Indian Express. As you might have seen, or you might have seen in social media or newspaper, if you see on right side, S.N. Subramanian, he is a CMD or CEO of L&T company, such a huge company. He came up with one statement that kind of sparked a lot of debates in the country. How long you stare at your wife, you come back to the work and then do work, 90 hours per week kind of work. So he is glorifying the work. Based on his comments, a lot of people have put up comments on him in vulgar manner. Some people accepted him, some people told there must be balance in work and life. When you don't balance, then mental stress, all those things will go. So during this slide, Deepika Singh, she is kind of critical about Mr. Subramanian. You can see title itself, No Subramaniam. So this is kind of, this article talks about how the balance should be maintained. Even when you are preparing for something, you need balance. If you keep on studying, brain won't work. It is kind of chip or memory, whatever you say. It will also get overheated. Ultimately, we all are human beings. We have emotions. There are certain people recently, they have advocated for long work hours. You might have heard about Narayana Murthy from Infosys. He told for 70-hour work week. This kind of triggered a lot of debates in the country. Recently, L&T chairperson or chairman N.S. Subramanian, in his annual meeting with employees, he also told 90 hours a week, including Sundays also. He told, how long can you stare at your wife? How long can wife stare at the husband? Even he asked, he gone into such a trivial things. One thing they need to understand is that they shouldn't go in that much detail. They shouldn't glorify the corporate culture. When it comes to CEOs like Narayana Murthy, Mr. Subramanian, they all have good things. They have good remuneration. According to one note, Mr. Subramanian, he is getting around some 50 to 100 crores of remuneration per year. So he can afford anything. He can afford everything. However, when it comes to average Indians, those who join in L&T or such corporate companies, they have a lot of works to do. Sunday, not only at staring at wife, they have to do a lot of works. They have obligations of the family. They have obligations. They have their own health related issues. Recently, you might have seen several times, there is growing cardiac arrest among the young adults, even younger population also. Why? because there is growing stress in the work life, there is no balance in work and life. So this creates kind of disconnect, and it will basically make you stress, and then people ultimately commit suicide also. Even one more worst thing is that the institution of marriage in India is very pure and very critical for teaching next generation about our values, our cultures, and our shared gatherings. However, such a kind of drastic work-life balance may put huge toll on marriage institutions. Basically, divorce rate may also increase. So people with such a stature, Mr. Subramanian or Mr. Narayana Murthy, they must understand the details. Talent itself is not important. They should have emotional intelligence. When they don't have this kind of emotional intelligence, these kind of statements will ultimately come. Even people might have gone to say that they have put a lot of work hours. See, they have put a lot of work hours, then also company's performance is not growing. So then whom to blame? Basically, progressive countries like European, Scandinavian countries, even Japan, they are trying for 4 days of work. When you have leisure time for you, when you spend alone or with family, your productivity goes, your spiritual values will grow, and then when you come and work productivity also grows. Mahindra chairperson was telling the same. Not the quantity, quality of work matters. So there are people who are supporting for work-life balance. There are people who are not supporting work-life balance. Mr. Subramanian or Narayana Murthy, they can afford anything because they have the money, they have such a huge, remunerations. But when it comes to common people, they must understand. When you grow up in the leadership ladder, you must understand your followers, and then you should drive accordingly. If you make kind of rubbish comments, those comments will bring you down. There are countries that are proposing for 4 days of work week. However, where India is going, we need to question them. And then with such a kind of leadership, such a rubbish comments, we don't know how they are going to make, how these corporate people are going to eat up. So this is the article about Deepika Singh. Mostly she is highly critical about this 90 hours work week. 90 hours means like how many hours you will work? Almost you need to work 13 hours per day for almost 7 days. Then only you can complete 90 hours, one extra hour, 91 hours, right? So today we discussed two articles. One article about digital data protection rules. Second article about work-life balance. So that's all for today. Thank you. Thank you very much for discussion.